Hello once again. In today's video, we are continuing our journey with my latest acquisition, the Northern Telecom Norstar Compact ICS key telephone system, which a viewer sold me with extras for a very generous price. In today's video, we are going to see if we can get this thing running for the first time and function on a basic enough level as to hook up two phones and see if they can call each other. Now, here's the issue. I don't have any Norstar telephones here right now. They are all stuck over the border in a storage unit. So I can't get them until the US-Canada border opens, to an extent that it's not going to be of great inconvenience to me to go over there and grab the stuff. But I should be able to test this system with two analog telephones, ordinary telephones, because I have two Norstar ATAs, analog terminal adapters, which was a device that plugged into a Norstar extension, and then you plugged an analog telephone into it, and you could use an analog telephone as a Norstar extension, with obviously some loss of features. Here is a Norstar ATA. In particular, it's called the Norstar ATA2. And it's got a DIN plug for the power supply, which I do have, and then two jacks. One plugs into a Norstar extension, and you plug an ordinary analog telephone into the other one. So here's one of them. Here's the problem. I don't have the other. Frig! I bought two of these back in 2019, and I think I must have taken the other one to my ex's house, because I do not have it here. Which means the other one, if I indeed took it over there, the other one is now in that storage unit. Either that or I've lost it forever. But that's the only logical explanation I can think of for why I knew exactly where this one is, but the other one wasn't with it. So I've only got the one. But the Norstar Compact ICS has an ATA built into the KSU itself. So I still have two ATAs to work with, which is good. Now, one problem with that is, on a Norstar Compact ICS, you've got two RJ21 connectors. One of them is where you connect all the extensions, and the other one is where you connect your outside lines. The internal ATA on this thing, for some reason, is not on the plug with all the other extensions. It's on the plug with the lines and stuff, which means I need to use both of these plugs. I've got to plug this ATA into the plug for extensions, and then I got to find a way to connect an analog telephone to this other plug that's mainly used for the outside lines. But I've only got one RJ21 cable here. How am I going to do that? Well, luckily, just out of pure convenience, I had bought an RJ21 plug on DigiKey quite a while back. I was going to use it for my 1A2 system, try and build like a RJ21 extension cable. Never got off the ground. So I still had the untouched plug that I bought. So I took the plug and I looked up the Norstar Compact ICS installer guide, which is a 300-page document that tells you everything you need to know to wire one of these up and get it running. And it had the wiring diagrams and exactly what pins of the RJ21 connector that the internal ATA was on. So I just took a telephone cable and cut an end off, and I soldered it to those pins. So I've got this, which will go right in the port meant for outside lines, and then one of my analog telephones will plug into the other end. And then Braden, who sold me the system, big thanks to him, he included an RJ21 cable with the system, So looking at the installer guide, I found which wires for extension 21, the first extension, and I just went ahead and straight up crimped an RJ11 connector to those two wires. So this is a Norstar extension, and that will plug into this, and then another ordinary telephone cable will be used to plug an analog telephone into the other jack on this ATA. So I'm all set, assuming I've done everything right. I can just plug these connectors in, and I'm all set to hook two analog telephones up to this KSU. Now the other problem is I don't know how this KSU is going to behave. It's going to boot up in a factory configuration because Norstar systems are backed up by an onboard supercapacitor, and it's only meant to hold the memory for like 3 days without power, and this thing's been unplugged for months, so it's gonna be it's gonna boot up into its default configuration. So I don't know if that default configuration is going to allow two analog phones. You know, what I need is to be able to pick up the handset and get an internal dial tone. On my Norstar 6x16, it doesn't boot up that way. In the default configuration, when you pick up the handset on a phone, it doesn't do anything. You don't get a dial tone. You've got to press a button to get intercom or another button to get an outside line. And that would be fine if this thing did the same if I had Norstar phones, but I've only got analog phones to work with. So I need to hope that I get an internal dial tone when I pick up the phone. If not, then I have to hope that there's just some sort of code that I have to dial or something to get myself on an intercom line. Hopefully one of those two things happens. So, what about the phones I'll be using? Well, in the orange corner, we have my lovely Western Electric trimline rotary phone. And in the blue corner, we have this really junky, effed up, cheap-ass trimline phone that I don't even know if it works still, but hopefully it does. But there's our dynamic duo that we're going to be testing this thing with. Alright, I've got the orange trimline phone connected as the internal ATA. So that's extension 30. That's the extension that the internal ATA is on. And then little boy blue is connected to the external ATA, which should be on extension 21 if I've wired it up correctly. The external ATA is plugged in. It's functioning because I picked up the phone and I get loop current. There's no dial tone or anything, but I can hear a faint hiss, and when I hit buttons, it makes ATMF noises. So we're getting loop current, so that ATA is working at least partially. Alright, let's plug this thing in and see what happens. Hopefully nothing would be ideal. And unfortunately, without a Norstar if we had a Norstar telephone hooked up, we could look and see when it's finished booting, but we have no way of telling here. And there's not even a power light on this friggin' thing. Oh yes, there is! Aha! So we're getting power. Now, a Norstar KSU takes, well, my 6x16 takes about 45 seconds to boot up, maybe less. But I've heard that one of these can take as long as a couple of minutes. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back, pick up the phone, and see if we have a dial tone. I'm excited. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes. I'm going to pick up this phone and see if I get a dial tone. Fingers crossed that I do. I do not have a dial tone. So that could be because it's not finished booting, or I've done something wrong, or my biggest fear, it's not configured by default to put a phone on an intercom line when you pick it up. Let me try the other phone. Oh, we've got loop current. The dial's lit up. And I've got a dial tone. Oh! Okay. So we have a dial tone on one extension, but not the other. Why would that be? Oh, I've got a dial tone on this one too! Woohoo! Okay, I didn't wait long enough. Bad flow. So this is on extension 21, this is on extension 30. I'm gonna hit 30 and see if that orange trimline phone rings. No. I'm getting a fast busy signal. I think I have that right. This is on 30, I believe. Well, let me try the other way around. I'll dial 21. Fast busy signal. So I'm not sure what's going on. I might have to read into it. Good morning. It's the next day, and I have good news. I never did get these two phones to call each other on my own, but I contacted Braden, and we figured it out, and I got these two phones to call each other. So here's what was wrong, and it confounds both myself and Braden. We are not sure why this is the case, but this thing retained Braden's programming, or at least some of Braden's programming. He hadn't had this thing plugged in 10 months. But it at the very least retained the custom extension numbers that he programmed into this thing. So I told him I had, you know, a phone on the internal ATA and a phone on extension 21. And he's like, oh, try extension 2001 and extension 2329. And that's exactly what these are. First of all, I had the default extension number of the internal ATA completely wrong. I think, actually I had it wrong twice. I think I said it was on extension 30 in the beginning of this video. That was incorrect. It would be on extension 29, but only if this had the restricted firmware, which restricts it to 8 extensions. This has the standard firmware, which gives it 16 extensions. And with the standard firmware, the internal ATA is not on 29, it's on 38, I think? So I had that wrong, so I never would have gotten that working anyway. But yeah, Braden's custom programming of this thing, which was assigning custom 4-digit extension numbers to all the extensions, has been retained. We don't know why, but that was the case. So the internal ATA is on extension 2329, and the first extension is numbered 2001. So if I pick up this phone and I dial 2329, there you go, that unmistakable Norstar ring pattern. Pick it up, and not that you can hear, but these two phones are on a call to each other. Excellent! So, things are working just fine. We just didn't know that there were some custom extension numbers still in place. If I pick up this phone and dial 2001, wow, what a gross sounding ring. Oh, it's so gross. But there you go. Excellent. So we now have the ability for two analog phones to call each other. You know what that means. Playing with modems. I've got the Epson Action Note laptop here with its 2400 baud modem connected to one extension. And way over there, I've got the US Robotics Courier V.Everything hooked up to the other extension. And all I've got to do is type ATDT 2001. And there we go. Excellent. So this is gonna be cool. I can do some experimentation and testing with modems without having to war dial people's BBSs. No, this is pretty sweet. Well, that is just the bee's knees. I've got two analog extensions, and I can make them dial into each other. I mean, it doesn't scratch the surface of what the compact ICS can do, but at least it's something that I can do with this thing while I wait for the border to open so I can go get my Norstar phones and everything else. But there you go. Now I'll have to see. I wonder if I can hook up the StarTalk flash unit, and I wonder if I can dial into that StarTalk flash just from an ordinary phone and maybe do some stuff with that. I've got to reset it because I know that's going to have old messages and stuff on it. I wonder if I can reset it just by dialing into it from an analog phone. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But anyway, there's a first test of the Norstar Compact ICS. More to come on this thing, possibly not until I get my Norstar phones back. So it could be a few months yet, if not longer. We'll see. But there you go. Thanks for watching. Big thanks to these cool cats right here who support me via Patreon. And to everyone else, thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next video. There we go. Oh, for fuck's sake.